Hello everyone, welcome to Single Parents Hub Facebook Live. We are a global community that supports single parents and their children by connecting them with all experts in all areas of our life so that single parents and their children can live a happier, healthier, and financially free life. And my name is Tarinee. I'm the founder of Single Parents Hub. And today I'm so grateful to have this amazing lady, Elaine Hodgins, and she's a children hypnotherapist. And she also has the office in Harley Street and also in your own practice outside London. And Elaine is going to come and share with us many interesting and useful information to help us as a parents, to help our children, to parenting them, to support them in a proper way and in more official, more
in a way that actually helps both the mother and child, really, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm a hypnotherapist, and I've been doing this for more years than I can remember now. So I won't give my age away. And I've got two clinics, one in Harley Street, as you said, in London, and one just outside Reading in Berkshire. And I deal with children from 3 years old right up until, well, young adulthood, because basically a mother could call me and say, will you see my son? He's 22.
Oh my God.
And so, the age doesn't really matter. He's still that mother's child.
Exactly.
So yes, I still see sort of young adults as well. I obviously treat them in a slightly different way as I would a 5-year-old.
They're not little boy.
No, that's right. But they still have similar problems, or they have the problems that have started in the childhood and then just grown up with that problem. And that does cause a lot of problems, obviously. So, for example, most of the problems that I would deal with are very much anxiety-based. So the anxiety could start when the child's very little, even 2-3 years old. And quite often, and I hate to say this, and I'm not blaming it on the mums at all.
Oh, you
don't get me wrong.
We are part of it.
A lot of mums are anxious when they're new mums, which is normal.
Of course.
And the mum's anxiety rubs off on the child and makes the child anxious. We then get, this sort of almost like a sort of a codependent anxiety relationship between the mother and the child. So what we need to do is, I usually treat both the mother and child in a case like that, because otherwise there's no point me giving all the attention to the child and getting the child less anxious. And the child goes home, but the mother's still anxious and doesn't know how to deal with it.
Exactly. So you have to help in both of them at the same time.
And so most problems start with anxiety, whether it's a food problem, a food disorder, whether it's a stool holding, when they won't go to the toilet, a bedwetting problem, an anger problem, a sleeping problem. We could go through the whole thing.
I think maybe would be ideal. Let's start from the young age.
From the young ones.
So if they are young, example, that they don't want to go to bed, the routine, the sleeping routine, that is very challenging when they are little.
Of course, Well, the main thing, I think, is to start right from the very early age, as early as possible, into a really good bedtime routine, And don't differentiate from that, because if you do, that little child is very clever, and no matter how old they are, they won't just take an inch, they'll take a mile, and they'll say, oh, mummy let me stay up till 11 o'clock last night, that's fine. If I do that again, then she'll let me stay.
Keep pushing.
So try and keep the routine to as much as you can. You have to be persistent with children, you have to be consistent, and you have to be patient as well.
And I find that food also play quite a big important role. That the routine have to be compatible with their eating routine.
Well, you've got everything really, haven't you? Because if you've got a child that's eating well and eating good, nutritious food, he's going to behave well during the day because he's going to have enough glucose, he's going to have enough energy. He's then going to be tired at night, so he'll go to bed and he'll sleep. And the eating,
Yes.
it actually is really important.
Yes,
and
it
if you
is.
can instill some really good eating sort of routines into them from very young, then that's even better.
Okay.
But of
Yeah.
course, you do have some children that have eating disorders. So then you're going to get a child.
Is this such a thing, and is this real
Yes.
eating disorder, or they just being plain fussy?
Some are. There's a big difference between a fussy eater, or a picky eater as we call them, or a child with a selective eating disorder.
Okay.
Now, a child with a selective eating disorder, you couldn't say to him, okay, if you eat that piece of chicken, I'll take you to Disneyland.
Okay. Whoa.
He wouldn't eat the chicken.
Really? Regardless of
Total
how
phobia.
tempting the reward is.
Regardless how tempting that reward is, he wouldn't eat it because he's got a total phobia
Okay.
of eating.
Okay.
So in that case,
And this is the real, or it's just in his own mind?
it's in his mind.
Okay.
You know, but it is real to him. You know, and so no matter what that mother does,
Okay.
there's no way she's going to get that child to eat. So what I do
Yeah.
is I do a little bit of what we call subliminal hypnotherapy because I don't hypnotise children like we would have.
That's what we thought that you do.
I don't
Look
get a
in
goal
my
with
eyes and 1, 2, 3,
I
big
don't do
sleep.
that. No, what I do is I play with them, I talk to them, I tell them stories, I do all sorts of little games, a lot of role play, you know,
Okay.
with little glove puppets and things. And what I do is, whilst we're talking and doing all that, I'm getting the child's trust.
Okay, that's good.
I'm
way.
building a rapport with that child, and I'm actually getting that child to trust me. So then, when I say to the mum, right, next session, bring a few foods in that you actually would like him to try. Then she'll bring something in, and I'll say to her, why don't you go and have a cup of coffee for 10 minutes? And she goes out for a cup of coffee, and I say, hey, should we have a picnic on the floor? And we have a little picnic, and we play some games. And basically, the child will probably eat. And that's because I've calmed him down. I've done some subliminal hypnosis with him, and I've actually gained his trust. And I'm in a calm, nice, friendly atmosphere
That's
in
good.
my little clinic.
That's good.
And that's how it works.
Okay. The next question. Okay, let me see. The next question I'd like to ask you is that how about the terrible two?
They're terrible twos. Oh my goodness, that's awful, isn't it? I think, you know, because I treat children from 3 onwards. So I'm very.
So you try to skip that?
I try to skip it, but to be honest with you, the terrible twos, it does go on till the terrible 5s and 10s sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But the terrible twos is just that child going from being a baby to a toddler and then to a little child, isn't that's all it is. He is just growing so fast. His mind is developing so fast.
Yes.
He's like a sponge. He's wanted to sponge up all this information, and he gets frustrated.
Yeah, you don't know
And
what
he
to do
can't-
with all the
And if you're in
new
the
things he
supermarket,
learn.
you're in the supermarket with him, and we won't come. You're trying to pull him along, and you're embarrassed because the other people are watching. You get anxious, like I said before. The child gets anxious, and that's how it goes. So the only thing with the terrible twos, I think, is again, you have to have a good routine with them.
Yes.
Really good routine. All children like a stable routine. They don't like change, a lot of them. So have a nice stable routine. Be persistent with them. Be consistent with them. And be patient.
Yeah, patient is a big thing.
Patient is the big
It's
one.
a very, very big thing.
That's right. And perhaps when asking a little one to do something, you know, because if you say you remember the days of the old video recorder that we used to have with the cassette?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, the listeners will. If you say to it, because a child will want to post anything into that video recorder.
Yes.
You know, he'll get your best jewellery or money, and he'll want to post it in because it looks like a letterbox. So if you say to that child, "Don't put that in there. Don't put that in that recorder, please." He doesn't hear the "don't."
Yeah.
He just thinks, "Oh, video recorder. I'll go and put that in." So if you said to him, why don't you put that over there in that little box?
Okay.
He doesn't really need to go in there. Put it in that little box.
Yeah.
So you've actually got him to do what you want him to do without telling him off and getting angry.
And also, like you said, it's the changing period.
Yeah.
So he's just testing his boundary.
He is testing the boundaries.
Yeah.
All children test boundaries,
Yes, I
don't
know.
they?
Even grown up, we do
Yeah.
that.
It's true, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think terrible twos is just one of those terrible phases that we all have to go through, and we just have to get through it as best we can. Patient, good strict routine with them, with their food, with their plenty of fluid to rehydrate them, that sort of thing. Make sure they get enough sleep. There's so many different things with children, isn't there? Just to aid their growth, their development.
Yes. And what I find, especially with my children, when they start going full time in the school, now they start realize the real world.
Oh, exactly.
No one like, oh, nice, and so they come with all sort of other children with different backgrounds.
That's right.
So the bullying start, the name calling and all this.
Sure.
How do you help them to gain and build up their confidence?
Okay, so a child starts school at what, 4.5, 5 years old. They suddenly realise, some children would have been to nursery, so they've already been with other children, but others don't, they go straight to school. And I think it's hard for the ones that haven't been to nursery. I think it's very hard for them to actually adapt
straight
to school.
from home.
Yeah. And then, they start to, obviously they've got to share things with other children, they've got to listen to the teacher, they've got to do all these things. And it's hard for them, really hard.
Yeah. They're not centre of their attention anymore.
Exactly, they're not just there. No, they've come out of their comfort zone, haven't they?
Yes.
And you have to let them go out of their comfort zone. You have to sort of, with your bit of anxiety that you think, my little boy, he's 5 and he's being bullied at school.
Who hitting you? Tell me, I'm going to bash that boy.
Well, he probably, bullying at 5 probably isn't bullying as we know
exactly,
at 10, is
exactly.
It? It's just it's just kids
maybe
being kids.
playing too hard.
Yeah,
or
that's right.
Just say silly
that
things.
That boy hit me and whatever. Well, you say, okay, well he hit you. Now, why do you think he hit you? Or well, I called him and something or other.
Yes,
so,
always.
Well,
something.
now we know that you shouldn't be calling him names, otherwise you're going to get hit. So there's the sort of the typical interaction between mum and child to explain why things happen. And if you don't explain why things happen, they're never going to learn.
Yeah.
So that's all it is, really.
Yeah, I think
it's
we
just
need
that
to help them. Help them learn the social skills.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you know what I find? I think learning to be kind, learning to be kind to each other. Because there's so many children that aren't kind to each other.
No.
I think learning to be kind, learning to share.
Yes.
That's one of a big important thing, especially for a
loving, sharing,
single child.
Yeah.
Learning to be kind, learning to share, learning to understand why other people do things or why they might do things. Because there might be a child at school who's, I don't know, being a bit of a bully or whatever, but he might be through a bad time at home. His grandma might have died.
Have some compassion and understanding.
So it's being empathetic. It's being teaching them empathy as well. Yeah.
I think also you need to teach them to be strong, to be able to look after themselves. Yes, because my children, they don't have a problem with be kind. And in a way, it looks like they become too soft. And when people really hurt them, they don't do anything. And they said, why you not doing anything? And he would say, Mommy, I don't want that boy to be in trouble. So I said, no, if someone hurting you, you need to defend yourself, but you're not hurting that boy back.
Exactly.
You just defend yourself.
Yeah. They need to be resilient. They need to learn how to be resilient and to look after themselves, but at the same time not becoming a bully themselves, being that bully back. That's a tough one, really, because they're still very young.
Yes,
7,
to
8,
understand
9.
Where's the boundary, where's the line to cross or not to cross.
Well, it's like two brothers, isn't it? You've got two boys.
I
had 2 brothers,
each other all the time.
And boys will be boys. They'll wind each other up, and they'll go to the limits, won't they? But you have to sort of then say to them, like you do, I know you do with your boys, you know, look, it's okay you mucking around like that with your brother, but if you do that with a child at school, you're going to get something horrible happen, and then you'll be in trouble. So you've got to teach them the difference between mucking around maybe with brothers is slightly different from doing it with other kids at school or out in the playground or in the park or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to wrap this up, so I'm going to ask one last question.
Yeah.
How about mom? How, like you said, because all the energy that we have, whatever anxiety, stress, whatever that you have, without you saying it, your energy spreading to your children. Yeah. So how can we be collective and calm and content and be able to aware of our own thought and emotion, so we're not passing this on to the children?
I mean, that is, that's a sort of that's a unique one for each person in a way, because some people like meditation, don't they? Some people like yoga, some people like going to the spa once a week or whatever, if you can afford it. And I think the best way I can do that is say, give yourself, mum, you give yourself some time, even if it's only 20 minutes a day. Just me time, you time, just to sit and think to yourself, oh, this is nice. I can just sit, I can just relax. I'm going to calm. I'm going to stay calm and, sit and look at a little candle, perhaps. Meditate on a little candle flame, anything like that. But just relax for 20 minutes, even if that's all the time you've got in a day. Because I know it's busy for mums. I've been a single mum. I know what it's like. I'm still a single mum, and she's 32 now. I'm still a single mum, so I do know what it's like. Just as long as they can get a little bit of me time. But anything else, what I tend to do is when I see the children at my clinic, I always have some time with the mum to teach them how to cope with that child's specific problem as well. I totally agree that you really need to find the calm, even when you think, oh my God, I can't cope this anymore. Sometimes I tell them that, give mommy 5 minutes, and I run and I lock my bedroom. When they say, Mom, they after me, I say, just give me 5 minutes, and I really need to clear that out. That's right, just clear your head.
And you probably find that a lot of time when you come down, they already forget about it.
Exactly. Kids don't remember things for long, do they?
And we still cannot offload that. We still have that. So it's for us grown up to actually know how to offload it ourselves.
That's right. And if you've got an anxious child as well who's suffering quite severe anxiety, is a good thing to do with that is to give them some sort of space in the house where, even if it's just a corner in the lounge with a big beanbag or something, that's their stress-free area or comfort area, whatever, and say, look, you're obviously in a bit of a state, darling. Why don't you just go and sit in the corner for 10 minutes?
I heard someone even buy the punch bag.
That's a good idea.
For the children on the corner.
Punch the pillow. If they're frustrated, if they're angry, if there's something like that, you stress balls. And for some children, especially some autistic children, you can buy what are they called? Weighted jackets and weighted blankets, and that really helps them feel much better.
Okay, why? Because it's warmer?
It's because they're feeling like they're having a real hug.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, and that's what they can do, and they can have this little, it's like a little vest, but it's weighted, and it just makes them feel so much calmer.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Gosh, we need to do a lot more series like
we
this.
Do. We could do this all the time.
Because there's many questions. As you know, children not come with a manual.
That's true.
Even you have your own manual from your mom and dad. I'm sure it's already out of date.
And they're all different, aren't they? And even if you've got 2 children, they're totally different.
Yes,
my 2 were totally different. Know. And you can't treat them both in the same way. You have to treat them differently because their little brains work differently.
Of course. Everyone is so individual.
That's
right. So how can we contact you?
You can contact me by going through my website, which is www.focus-hypnotherapy.co.uk, or you can email me at info@focus-hypnotherapy.co.uk. hypnotherapy.co.uk, or you can telephone me. But the telephone number is on the website.
You have to go in there to get it. But also Elaine's Kylie, she's one of our experts on Single Parents Hub as well. So if you're going to my website now, www.singleparentshub.com, and you go to expert page, her information, everything is there. And good news is now the subscription is free. So please sign up and you get all information, full access to information, video training, resources, and all the future events for free. So please sign up. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me today, Tarinee. It's been wonderful.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.